Hi, my name's David, and today I'm going to walk you through the Neto TradeSquare app. So in order for you to add the TradeSquare app inside of your Neto account, first you need to go to add-ons and then go down to find your TradeSquare app, and then you would click on and install it. Upon clicking this button, it will log you into the TradeSquare app automatically, and it will allow you to define a bunch of settings. Things like how you want to synchronize data between Neto and TradeSquare, such as products and orders, or ask you for your TradeSquare login key, as well as a number of other things, such as the ability to define how images should be sent to TradeSquare, how items are categorized, as well as the ability to override things like name and description based upon the default. So if you click into one of these, it will show all of the Neto miscellaneous or custom attributes for you to select from. And then you can just select one. So if you had a specific description for TradeSquare only, then you could create a custom attribute to define this and then apply that to the products that will be listed on TradeSquare. For every setting, you can hover over it in order to see a description as to what that setting is about for your understanding. And you can also look at the help guide on the top right-hand corner to get a bit more information if required. So upon you completing your setup and saving, what this will mean is that we will then download all products which have been tagged or ticked to display on TradeSquare. So make sure that you do that first inside of Neto. And then you'll go into your product sync, and then you would review all products which have been downloaded from Neto. So for you to then publish products to TradeSquare, there are a few prerequisites. The first one, to click into the mapping screen, and then you would first have to map up your category. So based upon how you've defined the settings of categories from Neto, it will list out all unique categories across the products which you have ticked to send to TradeSquare. And then what you would have to do is you'd have to map those up to a relevant TradeSquare category. So you can do so by clicking on the drop down and finding by keyword, or you can click into this button, which will then allow you to drill down on categories to the most appropriate one, like so. So you would complete that for all of the source categories, and then you would have to move on to your TradeSquare attribute mapping. So inside of the TradeSquare attribute mapping, it will have a list of all of the attributes that are available inside of TradeSquare. Anything that has an asterisk next to it means that it's required. And so let's go into brand, for example. What you would do is you would then select a source attribute. It could either be one of the standard attributes that have been mapped or a custom Neto attribute for you to map it up. And once you have mapped it up, it will define all of the unique instances of that of brand, and you'd have to map it up to a brand that is available inside of TradeSquare. Going through some other key attributes are color. So color is again when products vary on a color. You have the ability to select it from an auto-mapped color or a custom field. And then you would have to define the most appropriate color from the drop-down based upon the source value that we have received from Neto. If you find that most values are the same between Neto and what's available inside of TradeSquare, you can forward the values on unmapped by clicking this button. However, if you see that there is a value from Neto that isn't available inside of TradeSquare, you can click the drop down and override it. Some other key attributes are group title. So group title is when you have products in Neto which vary by, say, color and size, but you've created them as separate products inside of Neto as opposed to using the variants option inside of Neto. So what you would have to do is you'd have to create a new custom miscellaneous field inside of Neto. And then for every product which should be sent or grouped together inside of TradeSquare, you'll have to define the same group title. So example here is a group title is flat product. So if there are like 5 products in Neto which have this group title, then that will mean that they'll be sent as one listing inside of TradeSquare. So that's a very important step if you do in fact have a variant product split by products in Neto. If you look at size is another key attribute. So a key thing here is, again, you'll have to either map it to a size or a custom field if you have set up a custom size attribute. And then what you would do is you would have to then map it to the most appropriate size inside of TradeSquare. If you find that you cannot map sizes correctly to values that are available inside of TradeSquare, you can unmap it, and then you can map the size to something like item variant, which is a free-form text box. So that gives you a couple of options. So if you find that you can't define using the sizes or colors that are available, then you can always send it as an item variant option to TradeSquare, which is a free-form text box. The same goes if you have additional attributes that you want to vary your products on. You may want to map item variant 2 to a custom attribute inside of Neto. In this instance, we've created one called TradeSquare item variant 2, and that could be for things like I don't know, material or capacity or something along those lines. And then we'll just send it as one option to TradeSquare. So yeah, once you have gone through all of the mappings and found everything that you can map in order to ensure that you have a rich product inside of TradeSquare, you would then go into the preview button, and then you'll click this complete and publish. So what this button means is that you acknowledge that you have completed your category and product mappings, and at this point that will trigger us to then publish the products to TradeSquare. Once the products have been published into TradeSquare, you can click into this diagnostics section, and this will at a high level define if there have been any issues upon publishing a product to TradeSquare. So you can see, for example, category mapping not found. It means that when we tried to publish a product to TradeSquare, it means that this category was not mapped correctly. So then you would have to go back in, make sure that the category has been mapped, and then look to republish the products for it to be successful inside of TradeSquare. Just touching on the other section of the TradeSquare application is the order sync. So the order sync will essentially show you all orders which have been received from TradeSquare and published into Neto, as well as any status updates from Neto to TradeSquare. So how this application works is that orders are created from TradeSquare to Neto, and upon those orders being fulfilled inside of Neto, we will then publish a shipment status back to TradeSquare to notify customers that the order has been shipped and to be expected. At the same time, you can also go into the diagnostic section of an order to review any issues. You can click into them, and then you can see exactly what the message was. You can also click into an order record to be able to review more detail on the order. So you can click into a payload and see the exact payloads that we have received and sent to Neto, as well as you can see a history log of an order and how orders have changed over time. So anytime we receive a change or an update from TradeSquare, then we can then log that historically inside of this section. So that's a quick overview of the TradeSquare Neto application. Thanks for watching.